This is the Zone Football League.
Welcome back to another episode of the Zone In podcast, where we talk everything Zone Football League across Newcastle. As always, I'm Mason, and this is the second podcast week of finals football in the Zone Football League. Joining me tonight, down on the couch again for second week, Wilso, and joining us for first time in a couple episodes, I would say, CT. How are we, guys?
I'm good. You look good. I know we've been talking about it, but
we're going to carry on with that.
It's the hair, but it's also the Botox. Yeah, there is no wrinkles on the top of that forehead.
Let's carry on with it. This, by the way, has been going on for 5 minutes.
That's the last I'm going to say. But you actually look sensational at the moment. And there's been times where you haven't looked sensational. So take the compliment.
Yeah.
All right. I know it's coming from there. The back of the hand.
Yeah, I'm just going to say this with a complete irrelevance. He's the best I know at hanging shit on you without making you feel
this
bad.
time you do. Anyway, let's get to the football.
All right.
Yeah. Well, I think we wrapped out last episode with a bit of backhanding compliments. You, Wilso, saying how good I look, but maybe needing a haircut before the game, which, unfortunately came out that I couldn't get a haircut in time. So that's the reason why I didn't play in what was the match of the round for the quarterfinals, seeing Curry be downed by Merriweather in a very, very tight 1-0 result there. Callum Hewitt very late in the game, the 94th minute actually, to be precise. Little free kick flicked on by Oliver Cohen. Wilso, you were there calling the game.
Yeah.
Give us your rundown.
We were really surprised that there was only one goal in the game. When you looked at the statistics going in, the front two from both teams were just 38 goals between the front two from Curry, but they just didn't look likely on the day. It was it was a really solid defensive effort from Merriweather, but I was really impressed with Hewitt. Right from the start, I thought Curry played a back five at some time, and Cohen was dropping in all the time and making a nuisance of himself. But I think in the first half, Hewitt made probably 3 or 4 really good chances for himself and for others. I was really impressed with him, his energy. He was really good. He really created a lot of problems without putting anything on the score sheet. And as we were talking before the podcast. The first half was ripping. It was end-to-end, lots of transitional moments. And there was some heat.
Plenty for both sides.
We're up in the shade, but it felt like there was some type of heat out there. And, to go in at 0-0, both sets of teams looked really fatigued at half-time.
Yeah. Look, I only saw the first 10 minutes of the commitments, but during that first 10, that's exactly what I witnessed, was seeing end-to-end. But one of you two, it was either you or Cam, said statistically this game's going to have a lot of goals, and it might have been Cam. He's a bit more of a stats man than me. But it obviously didn't pan out that way because what I saw was just really, some cracking pace early and maybe in tune with that feeling you were talking about.
There was just good defending, especially from Merriweather. But I mean. Curry as well, because Hewitt and Cohen were difficult to maintain as well. But there's a couple of good saves as well. Like Gaffney is rocks and diamonds. He almost creates chances for the other team to make good saves. But he pulled off a couple of really good ones in the second half. And then there was the penalty save that late in the second half, and it looked like for all money that it was going to extra time. And in what was a really dour second half, you could really see the fatigue set in. I think that's probably from the last month of football, the pressure and the anxiety of playing in a semi-final as well. Sometimes you can play the game, and we've played, and you play the semi-final or the grand final out the whole, all week, and emotionally you can be a wreck. And I think both me and Cam and I said during the call that everyone looked fatigued, both sides, and Merriweather were just good enough, and I thought they were good enough on the day to win the game.
Yeah, and CT, you touched on about the comment one of the boys saying with the goals and everything. I believe it might have been Cam, and there was something along the lines of 110 plus goals between the two teams, and Curry's front three had scored almost 50 plus of those goals. So I think one of the Curry three were missing on the day, but they still have Comerfield and Straka up top, 19 goals apiece for each of them. So yeah, it's hard to say it was a disappointing game purely because you would have expected goals. But from my perspective, standing on the sideline there as well, it was definitely exciting, and especially that first half.
Oh, the first half was, I can go on about it all night. I was really enjoyed the first half. And Comerford and Straka in the first, or Straker, is it? Straker? First half, they were forced to move into wide areas, to pick up the ball. I thought Jones was really good. I thought he was really good earlier on in the year against Charlestown when we called that game. He bumbles his way around, but he's just, he can find a pass. He's good in the air, and he was just making these, tackles, and they were frustrated, but they were still good in the wide areas. They were turning players, but they had so far to go to score from there. And I think, if you're scoring 38 goals between you, a lot of those are coming from inside the box, and they just didn't get in there all that often.
Definitely. But on the flip side, if you look then in the midfield, Joel Page, who was up there for the best and fairest, he was definitely a man to watch, picked out, before the game as someone to watch. Maybe I would say from what I've seen of him, maybe one of his quieter games, but still he was in and amongst everything and really is their talisman in the middle of the park for Curry.
I was going to ask CT if you'd have heard of Joel Page before. He looks a mean character. Lots of tats around the head and neck, but to me he looked like a footballer. I said it a few times in the call. He just looked natural. He's got this little left foot, and he's playing things around corners, and he's hard in a tackle. And you're right. He wasn't at probably his best, but I thought he was their best player. And he looked like the most likely to create something.
Yeah.
And the sort of guy that wants to get forward into the game rather than, like you're talking about those lack of goals. Maybe, when you are in around those boxes in the box and you can get those turns, he's the guy that's going to kind of get you there, and that's the sort of player you want in your team.
Well, we're both midfielders, and he's the type of player I like to watch. He just looks like he's ahead of the game. And I was going to ask, where's he from, or where's he come from, or how old is he? He looked older probably than what he is from distance, but I was really impressed with him. If it went to penalties, I'd have nearly given him man of the match, mainly on his second half performance, and he kind of dragged Curry back into the game in the second half. But you couldn't. It was hard to go past Hewitt.
Yeah, well, as we touched on, the Harry Snittle man of the match, number 18, Callum Hewitt. We were talking last week saying CT does love to pick the goal scorer for the man of the match. Was that the main reason Hewitt got picked, or what was the thinking there, as CT seems shocked?
Well, you know what, Cam, went through a group of players, but it wasn't just the goal that Hewitt scored. He was creative all game, and they both the front boys, and I was going to ask you about the reason why Cohen went back into the midfield in the second half and Millgate went high. I felt like you've lost some kind of input at the top when that happened, but there's obviously a reason for it. But I thought, there was more to his game than just the goal. But it was more that Cam has always wanted to give his point of view on the man of the match, and CT pretty much takes over. That was, I think, more the case that he was talking about last week.
Yeah. Respectfully to Cam, he looked a little I thought was shuffled at the time, so I was helping out, but he wasn't shuffled. He was looking at me like, back off, big boy, I got it covered. Just trying to help.
He felt like and again, I think I shut him down as well. I think he was going for someone other than Hewitt. I felt like he was the one on the day. He deserved it. I thought he was good, and he deserved the goal.
I was going to say, as a final point on this match of the round, I remember watching back the commentary of the game. You were saying that it got helped in by a wild deflection. I was on the sideline, lots of bodies in the way. I didn't really see. Watching it back as well, again, he hit it so quick, but then it definitely did drop pace very quickly. So I'm sure,
It
there was
looked
some
like there was a
deflection in there.
deflection there.
Yeah, but then it just kind of rolled into the goal.
Once you put a shot on target or it's going towards goal, it doesn't become an own goal, does it? It's the deflection.
Yeah.
The deflection obviously helped him.
Yeah.
But I think he deserved the goal. And
yeah. Whether it helped him in his shot or maybe was the opposite for the goalkeeper, a bit of a hindrance in that. But yeah, 1-0 the
it was so
end
late.
result.
Yeah, to be honest, Cam and I were really shocked at when the final whistle went. We still thought there was a few minutes left. So it was right dead at the end of the game. It was. It must have been a pretty happy dressing room for Merriweather. Continuing a fairly good run.
Definitely.
I was going to ask the question, and it's good for a talking point that, like at the second half, you mentioned it was pretty, like it was it was just different. What were the sheds like at half time? In your side, obviously.
From Merriweather's side, all the boys were pretty happy with their first half performances. Definitely a few comments about how hot it was, and lots in agreement that 120 minutes might be pushing it. So it was just, we need to wrap this up in 90 minutes. I just say back end of this season, everyone in the same boat, but obviously a lot of football is being played. So already coming in, everyone in with tired legs, worn out legs. So
that makes a lot of sense when you come out of the charges and you got a bit of lactic acid, you're pushing out there, and then all of a sudden it's half time, it's hot, and you're going, hang on, we're going to do this again. Yeah.
It's what it looked like. It looked like half time was no good for anyone. It was they come out, and I thought Merriweather had the better of the first half, but I thought Curry were doing quite well second half, mainly because Merriweather just dropped right off.
Yep.
And then the penalty. And then the penalty miss, and you kind of thought, well, hold on, this could be
the buoyance
that Curry need. But it's just still drifted out. The game just seemed to look like it was drifting out to extra time and penalties. But it was a free kick. Then he's got a couple in and around the box, and they kept on tackling from behind. And there was a call. I think the keeper was outside his 18-yard box. Some of these decisions you very rarely see, but he took his chance, and you only need one.
Yeah, that's it. And fair play to Curry for the game in itself, and I'm sure how strong that they are. It won't be the last we see them for this final series. But across
just on that, one last interesting point. Their form last year in the semi-finals wasn't great either. They ran second, and they were out in straight sets. Second again.
It's got to be a worrying
it'll be on their mind.
It'll be definitely on their mind.
You spoke about playing the finals before you get there all week. That happens, and this could well be the case.
I saw enough there, and they've got so much quality at the top.
Yeah.
I think they'll turn it round. There was enough there. I just think they got Merriweather on a pretty good day in the first half especially.
Yeah. Looking across for the other game in Zone 3, which got played on the Sunday, Medowie playing host to Charlestown in a 4th versus 5th playoff. Charlestown getting that tight win again in a 1-0 through Chester Wade, one of the midfield boys that we've highlighted, of course, from Charlestown. You got to imagine a disappointing result and a disappointing day for Medowie, especially with their number 10, Dennis Fajkovski. Fajkovic, sorry. Fajkovic, getting the man of the match in that game as well.
Well, I mean, look, Medowie have, they're a good side, aren't they? So they'll be really disappointed about that. And I didn't see the game, but you get someone of his calibre, big day, big occasion. There's every reason for everyone to lift. So they'll be reeling about that.
Like I'm surprised, but I'm not, because Charlestown's form has just been so good leading in,
the back end of the
season, and winning form. That's what you want to take into semi-finals. And to be fair, Medowie's just dropped off. I really had them on a pedestal, probably 5 to 6 weeks ago. Quite a few things have happened inside the club, and I think, that hasn't helped. It's been a real emotional roller coaster for them. And, I guess, at home, they probably thought they could have got the win, but, That's the way
This is
football.
about this competition that I've really enjoyed is what you think it's going to be and what it turns out to be are two different things.
Exactly.
Like there's,
Yeah.
Yeah.
you could easily think, all right, there's going to be 4 up there and 4 down there and a couple sort of whatever, but it hasn't
No.
been that way. You know,
No.
anyone's beating anyone, and like this one I would have picked Madawi for sure.
Yeah.
and
Yeah, up at home, and
Yeah.
they've even though their form's been a bit scratchy, I thought they might have been up for it. They've got some good players, big game players, but Charlestown are just going about their business, and it's they're not conceding. It's a clean sheet in a semi-final, which is it's what you want. So they're going to go into this midweek game pretty confident.
Yep. No, that's it. And speaking of one of those teams that maybe doing changing the narrative, I would say, is Wilso, your new fan favourite, Minmai Wanderers, getting a 2-1 win over Cooks Hill in Zone 2, knocking Cooks Hill out of that elimination final there. 2 goals to Minmai, one coming from Jack Murphy. We touched on before that they're Minmai's main man, scoring most of their goals for them. Definitely you'd say got to be one of the shocker games, of the weekend.
Yeah, well, like you said earlier, there's been 5 out of 6 are underdogs have won. And Minmai, though, their form, we spoke about them really early in the year, and they were just in a trench, and they were battling to get out of it. And now they're just on this run, and I've somehow got on the bandwagon as one of their number one fans. So I said on the weekend that I'm the type of guy that if I'm punting on something, I'm going to stop it, but I'm not. We can't bet on these games, of course. But you probably find a way. But I'm happy for them. That's the oldest club in Australia, and lots of tradition, and just the fact that they found a way to win and get out of that hole they were in. It was rain, all the rain and all this stuff happening, and they couldn't get games on, no points, but they found themselves in the semis, and they've won. It's a big one. It's exciting for Minmai. I'll continue
Lachlan
to stay
Shroom
on there.
was the coach there a few years.
Yeah.
He had a great period through there and set them up well, I thought, for the shape they're in today.
It's a good little field up there too.
Oh, it's
Sort of
great.
up on the
Yeah.
You come out.
And the pub, you can't go wrong there on a Saturday night.
Well, another team in Zone 2 that had a bit of a slump during the midway point of the season, but coming home strong. Bulwarra Lawn getting the win over North United Wolves in the only game, it seems, that went to not only extra time but penalties over the weekend. 1-1 at full time for these teams, 1-1 at the end of extra time, and then Bulwarra just pipping North 4-3 on penalties. I can imagine the nerves in the Maitland region would have been pretty high on that Saturday.
Yeah, big derby. It's another shock, really. Like you said, they've coming home well by Warra, but I don't think anyone would have picked that result. And there must have been some super excitement. Whenever there's goals in extra time, it really lights it up even more so. You've got the draw, which has already created the emotion leading into extra time, and then there's a couple more goals, and they're usually late, and so there would have been some crazy scenes, and then it goes to penalties, and it's a big one for Bulwarra. It's
one thing I love
it's
about
opened it
Australian
right
football
up.
is how much the crowds and the people and the fans get involved in semi-finals and grand finals, and when you have like that, you're saying in extra time, well, here we go, and everyone's up out of their seats, and they're ready to, all the colours are coming out, the streamers, the balloons, and the kids are out. Like, I think it's fantastic.
Yeah,
and,
no, it's a great time of the year.
That game would have been a
It's a
belter to be
belter,
out.
yeah.
I'm definitely sure the fans would have enjoyed all the anxiety and the pressure of it, but I'm sure the boys out on the field would have been of a different opinion. As we're all being players and that, I definitely don't get excited about extra time and penalties. I don't know about the two of you.
It's a bit of a, for me, it's like if you trust what you've worked on, you trust your teammates, you trust it, the longer it goes on, the more you believe you're going to win it. It's a shock if something happens against you. That's the way that it. But and for me, I like just enjoy having the you know that purpose about what you're doing, you know, and a real drive about success, and so not being too nervous because you kind of run that out, don't you? You know, you got that, and you're in game zone, and I'm not sure if these guys are feeling anything different on that day, but it's a big occasion. And then when the whistle does go, you're like, oh, you know, and then you just want to hang on to someone, and then hang on to something, and then
I found probably playing wise, you go to extra time, you keep on going.
Yep.
Penalties,
just straight,
step
whatever
up.
it takes.
But as a coach, you got no control. That's I'm probably more of a roller coaster
100%.
when you're coaching. You've got like
100%.
the penalties, you're turning your head, you don't want to watch. But when you're a player, you just wander on up. If you score,
You know,
wander on
as a
back, there's
coach,
penalty.
you're doing every run,
you're
every
kicking, every penalty.
tackle, every pass,
So-
every movement, every loose
Yeah.
player. You're onto it. You're scanning, you know, like you're like the ultimate radar. You're better than, you know, the AI. You're it.
You're going for a wee behind trees in between penalties and
Oh,
wetting
gosh,
your
yeah.
pants. And,
Yeah.
But
Yeah.
playing, nothing. Miss, go to the pub. Who
Yeah.
cares?
Fair,
Doesn't matter. Next year.
fair enough. Well,
We got
another
into that, didn't we? Recall.
Couple of coaches that have been hurt in penalty shootouts.
As we wrap out the weekend in Zone 1, there was another game that did involve a penalty, but not a shootout. University of Newcastle knocking out Mayfield United Seniors 4-0. Forsyth with a double, one of them coming through penalty, and Samuel Smith as well with a double to make those 4 goals up for the Uni.
Yeah, well, you know, the Uni, for me, they've been at sort of round one when we had a first look at them. They're a team, you know, you guys are a team of goers. There's legs everywhere, you know, they just won't stop at you. And you know, I like the way that when I saw them the second time, they seemed a bit more, little bit more organised, a bit more composed about what they were doing. The use of the width of the park was really impressive. Like they had balls going down either side of the park, and they looked strong through the middle. And defensively, when it came time, everyone was involved, and that was that game. It's not this one, so it doesn't shock me. Mayfield, gosh, they've got some good players there, you know, and young Brainy, both times he's had the Harry Schnitzel man of the match because he's been the anchor in, you know, this guy, but all of his team were solid around him, you know, and you've got...
they've been up and down with their results, and it's a nasty loss in a
Yeah.
semi-final. They'll be licking their wounds. And
Carter up front, you know, he's really good for them too. He does a great job.
But like we spoke about, I'm not sure who I tipped. I feel like I did tip Uni, or the students, but Forsyth we've spoken about. The game that we called against Olympic early on, I remember you guys were calling, I was watching and listening to it, and his name kept popping up. He's a big, tall boy.
Yeah.
I think he's gonna play a major part in this semi-final series. This is when the big players step in, the ones who have done things throughout the year, they're quietly going about their business, and then this time of the year, you know, the Madges, Johnny Madges in the NPL, you know, they just find a way to be in the right spot at the right time. And I've got this feeling about Forsyth that he's going to have a major bearing on what happens, especially in, middle of the week, during the week.
Does it put any pressure on him?
No. He'll probably do his knee at training tonight. Addison Tyus, he played at Edgeworth, and he was a man of the Harry Schnitzel man of the match in that game against Olympic earlier on in the year. Good player. You know, played at Edgeworth in an era, I think maybe when either Zaney or Bridgie was there. Anyway, the reserve grade team was really strong, and he was a good player.
And you talk about Sam Brain maybe being the anchor for Mayfield. You've got to almost relate that to Tejas here for the Uni team being that anchor for them.
He's a good player. Yeah, and obviously he's university or studies or whatever it is that's taking him away from a higher level. I know he came down from up north as well. A good kid and a good player, and it's not surprising me that he's picking up Man of the Match awards. But yeah, they're just a little outsider, really, aren't they? In this zone League One, it's just anyone could win that title.
Definitely, and being the only favourite, if you call it, out of all these fixtures to get the result, and so convincingly as well. as we then look to the final game and arguably one of the biggest ones of the weekend that saw Qatar South at Myers Park, Sun's backyard, get a 1-0 win over Macedonians there. Cooper Jansen with that goal there, and Qatar's goalkeeper, Cooper Clark, with the man of the match. So you've got to imagine, just based off the man of the match being a goalkeeper, and we touched on this with Cam last week, that you'd think must have been a bit of an end-to-end, both teams getting their chances, but obviously Qatar through Jansen, they're capitalising on that one and being the difference in the game.
Yeah, well, I look, from what I had on Saturday, I did get this half an hour little sneaky window, and I whipped straight there because it's close to home. There was a few things that I noted in that half an hour. One, I saw Jansen's goal. It looked like all too easy, you know. It was just kind of sluggish almost. He wouldn't say it like that, of course, but it looks like almost slow motion. It just was kind of too easy, but the rest of it was quite hard and physical. The ground, you know, I know that because I was told, Tony was telling me that they'd been working on it. You know, he'd been working on it, put a lot of effort rolling it, getting it right. You know, they had some good crowd in. They, you know, like it all was there. I know they had players out, but so did Qatar. Yeah. No excuse there. Both sides were dealing with what. You know what? Before I got there, that the Suns had a couple of guys go down injured, so that's not going to help your cause. You know, so all of a sudden you're managing potential yellow cards, but you've got to manage. It was a hot day, so you don't have that luxury at the back end. So that'd be a real stickle, I think. But look, Qatar got the job done. You know, at the end of the day, they're playing, you know, midweek for a spot in the grand final against Croatia, and the big game for them. Their question mark for me is the time frame they've got, you know, in terms of turnaround. But their circumstance, but that's just the way the competition. We've had a lot of rain this year. It's just the way that it is. And does it work the other way for Croatia, where they've had too much time off? They've rested players against, you know.
Westlakes in that final
game.
Right.
It can work the other way. You sit there, and they might have played one or two games in the last month. The fact that there was washout games probably has helped Croatia, because it can be, in the top 5 format, it can bring you undone when you got to sit there, and especially if Croatia win this one, then they have another week off,
a week and a half off again.
So. Yeah, it can take its toll the opposite way that you might think. So, great win from Qatar. No surprise.
I'm going to speak out of school here, because I did go over to the Croatia club after the game that night for a little while, and
you leave no stone unturned, do you? You've got your finger in every.
He's just getting the depth of the details.
You know, it was just on the way to pick up some Greek food on the way home. You know, like it wasn't.
And you got home at 1 a.m.
2. But anyway, I just got the feeling like, all right, it's party time now. The music was blaring, but there were kids out in the bowling greens. All the, the partners were there. Everyone was into it. You know, all the club guys. But I got the feeling that was their party night, and then, Pops after that, he was like,
it's time.
Like during the night, he's saying to me, this is it, and we're back on the job. So I think probably good pause, good time. And I've really been like, even the warm up against Westlakes. They came away with a 10-0 win, right? And they're resting players. But before warm up, he wasn't overly. I mean, he was engaging to chat to, but he was really focused.
Yeah, he's dialed in.
To say that Croatia have had a week and a half off is probably the wrong terms to use, because you've got to imagine Pops has been working on the routine.
Well, I saw them training over at Spears Point on Thursday night.
Yeah.
So he'd be ticking over. He's got players there that are used to training and used to training at this time of the year. So
I just making the point that I feel like that was their party night, right? That's done being. Let's get over it, and we're back at training again. And I think they're going to be hard to stop.
I think they're going to be hard to stop, in the sense that Qatar are going to have to back up. It'll be draining, that win, but
look,
no
the reality
surprises. Jansen scores.
They've got Croatia were able to rest at least 4 first graders against Westlakes. So that's been good for them. So have you got any niggles there out of the way? And the other thing
it's all gone their way.
The flip side. But I mean, they're the champions. You get that. Get that luxury. This is what I love about it. Qatar. They play on Saturday, and they're backing up again. 3 days later, and they're probably their bench is going to have played reserve grade. But that doesn't.
No, it means
You know,
nothing.
you've been around
It
it
means
more than
nothing.
long enough
You
to know
you
that.
get your second wind early. You know, sometimes your legs, you just keep going. You know,
Yeah.
there's no use trying to recover. You'll probably do a bit of recovery. You know, whether they did on Sunday, who knows? But there's not much you can do. You just got to get back. You know, you're better off going for a run or getting back, get your legs going again, and you know pretty quickly how you're going. They'll know. And if you're feeling good early, you're feeling good. If you're not, you struggle through the whole game. So
and this being. Just wanted to take a minute to thank all of our great sponsors of the Zone In podcast. We have Deploy Football, the leading developers and manufacturers of performance sporting solutions, not only just including our awesome balls, and also sportswear with all of our grassroots clubs in helping them design and produce amazing apparel. One of our other major sponsors, Solved Marketing. If you want your problems solved are the ones to go with. Helping businesses, brands solve complex challenges with ingenuity and creative solutions. Solved Marketing is our go-to agency for all of our marketing needs, and we cannot recommend them enough. And finally, Harry Schnitzel Joint. You guys know every week, Man of the Match is presented with the Harry Schnitzel Award. Definitely go check Harry Schnitzel out. And we know that all the Man of the Match recipients have been so excited to get their Harry Schnitzel Man of the Match Award and get down to having a pretty seamless segue. We've already jumped into the review for the games midweek. We are talking now about Newcastle, Croatia, the Qatar, Tuesday night, 8 p.m. kickoff at Pasadena. The previous results for these two teams earlier in the year, Qatar with a 3-1 win over Croatia, and later then Croatia getting a 1-0 win, which I do think I remember that was out at Lake Macquarie, I think. Yeah. And those that were there and made comment on it said it was a very, very close game, which we talk about Croatia being such giants and making some games look easy, putting 10 in their last game past Westlakes earlier, putting 6 past the Suns with no answer. But then Qatar seemed to be their little kryptonite team almost, and I don't know if McGuinness has messaged you since that Qatar result stressing again, but
like talk to CT about, and obviously we all think that he's in there amongst that, and he's been in and around the group a bit more than us. But the one
for 20 minutes.
the one I caught up with Jake McGuinness, getting some petrol the other week, and he made it clear that Qatar wasn't the one they wanted to meet. There is and the results speak volume of that as well. So, a loss and a tight result. Maybe Qatar match up really well. They're like you've said earlier on in the year, they're organised. When they're doing their warm-ups and then their training, their coach has them organised. And I've heard you use that term quite a bit. And when you're playing a powerful team who's scoring lots of goals, and in a semi-final, if there's one word you want to have that's describing your team, you want them organised. Yeah,
it gives you the confidence to play, doesn't it? If you don't know what I'm doing, and we don't know what Mason's doing, but if you've got a common person, you understand your own role, you understand what the whole group is doing, the team is doing, then you've got a reason and purpose to move forward with confidence. And without that, then the other teams have got such big players in it, can really be intimidating. But if you've got a plan and you understand what it is and you know what your own job is, then I think it goes a long way to giving you something different. Look, this Croatian side, for me, they're the real deal, and they've got so much class and quality in the group. John Majerowski, I probably shouldn't say, 40 years old now, and looked, the same as what he did 10 years ago.
The quality of players, and I'm walking over the pitch after training my youth team, and I'm embracing 10 of their players who have. They're in different aging brackets that I've either played against, and I've spoke to Sesho, who's just I'm thinking Sesho is this relaxed guy who's won everything locally, and great guy and a character and hard as nails, but you could see the smile on his face about, I haven't stopped drinking and all this fun stuff they're doing together. but he's a footballer as well, and they're the players you got Madge there walking past me, McGuinness, and McGuinness is talking about being the player of the year and not getting man of the match on the weekend, but there's just a vibe about them that you cannot dismiss.
Going to the warm up into theirs beforehand, I honestly thought I should have brought my autograph book. It was like, wow, all these guys.
They're going to be hard to beat, but if. Like we're talking about organisation, and Katara will be organised, but at the back end of that, or the front end, if you like, they've got Jansen. So if you get it right and you can get things on the break, and they've got speed in the wide areas, if you're organised and you can play off the break well, and you've got a guy who's scoring goals, don't be surprised if there's another upset. But you'd be a madman to back against.
And when you do look at the stats, then Croatia with 94 goals being scored this year, which is no surprise when you do look at their goal scorers. Jake McGuinness with 18, Nick Cowburn from the midfield with 14, and Bo McDonald on 13.
Just casual.
Just 26 more goals than Katara. Croatia also with the best defense, 26 goals conceded, but coming up against the second least conceded goals, 34 from Katara. So if there's any defense to obviously try and shut down the Croatian boys up top, you've got to think stats-wise it is Katara. Again, we spoke about teams in the last week's episode of having Katara having their one main man up top, Cooper Jansen, but then Croatia having a spread across that they can rely on, not just scoring goals, but Cowburn in the middle, Sessions at the back, as you're talking about.
And then you go through all these scorers and assists and everything.
Great player.
Yeah, good player. But you almost forget about McDonald, who's got that first game of the year. He just tore the Suns apart with his speed. He got injured, but there's no substitute for speed, especially if you're playing, part-time players and older players.
I played all my junior rep full with Gavin McDonald, if you remember him. Yeah. And so keeping an eye on these boys as they're coming through, same deal, different generation.
Yeah.
Gavin was lightning. It's the same. They're cloned. And what a great player he was. And he's, wonderful. Yeah, there's full of reason.
Stories.
Yeah, there's so much into these clubs. It's fantastic.
Definitely. So that one there, talking about the qualification final, obviously the winner goes through to the grand final, but we do then look to the Wednesday night for Zone League 1, the knockout final between Newcastle Suns and the Uni, 8 p.m. kickoff for that one at Myers Park. Previous results for these ones, Suns getting the wins in both games. First one 6-3, second one 5-3. So we touched on the Suns goal scorers last week, Aiden, Alex and Joshua Williams, all on 11 and 10 goals. But obviously we spoke about the Uni boys as well. Nick Forsyth scoring most of their goals there. So basing off those two results, a 6-3 and a 5-3, you've got to imagine there'd be goals in this game.
Yeah, well, you'd think so. You really would think so, but you couldn't. You can't say it's going to happen. It's a midweek game, night game, both played on the weekend. It's going to be a hard one to pick. You look at the form, and you got to go with University. You look at the history of the Suns and how successful they've been, and the big name players like Alex Palazzi. I feel like, and if they get a couple back, is Pepper playing, or was he?
Well, he was one of the ones that got injured.
So they need some of these big name players to step up if they're ever going to do it. This is it, midweek elimination final. They're straight out the back door if they don't win this one. So there's going to be, I think they're going to be up for it. They're going to need to be, because I think University are just going to be buoyed by that result on the weekend, and they'll be just gunning to get over there at Myers Park. Good surface. Yeah. Night game, you can run all. That's the one good thing about playing a midweeker. It's at night time.
You cooler.
Grow an extra leg there to take away the heat factor. So it's going to be a good one. I want to tip the Suns, but it's hard not to go past I think this one might go all the way through. It might go to pens.
Yeah, it's really difficult when you look at a side like the Uni team they've got, because they've got so many guys. They've got guys that can play. I spoke about their wide guys before and how compact they can get. I really like all of that. I went in the dressing shed before their kick-off. There was a lot of energy in the room. They were good fun, having a good time. So all of that works. Toga parties Thursday night, you know what I mean? Like, it all roll on. But when it comes down to game day, you want to be in that mode, because you can, if you're the Suns, you could get rolled over the top of a little bit if you don't bring your players out to play, because they've got too much firepower to let that happen. So I could imagine, coach is going to have everyone in order, and it's almost like you've got to give them a little reminder. We've worked all year, and today's it. It's not something you're going to let another side come and roll over when you've got the quality in the side that you've got at Sun. So it's got to be a really good matchup. Like, for me, that's what I'd be looking at, the enthusiasm versus the experience, and how that's going to come together and play out over the course of the match. And maybe you're right. Maybe it does go all the way.
Yeah, I mean, it's hard to say this, and I'm not even talking with any fact here, but it's almost sometimes you think the Suns, you expect them to win, or do they just expect themselves to win because they've just been so dominant? And I'm not saying they're in cruise mode, but it just feels like this real la-di-da, we're going to win type. And not in that. I'm not saying that in a negative sense. I just think it's just it's just an aura that I feel when I hear the name Suns, that they're going to get the job done. And there's some teams catching up, and they've got some good players themselves. And I think, don't take away the aura, but I think they're going to have to just lift it a little for this one.
They're going to have to work hard.
I think the students are coming for them.
Yeah, and they'll be coming at speed. That's the thing they'll bring. They'll bring speed, and they won't stop. So, that's what I was talking about before, the experience, that aura that you definitely, that's there. I've seen it. I don't know what it is either. But it's confident, and you want that. Like, I like it. And you want to play in a team that's got that.
Yeah. You want to walk on the field, and you want to think you're going to do things. And their gaffers like that. Gary Borrowdale, he's a character, but he's confident, and he's brutal with his mouth, and he's at people the whole game. But he's got that aura too. I've known him for a long time, guys. So he needs to bring it out. I think they need to grab something Wednesday night, and they've got to run with it, and they've got to run with it for the full 90,
into the 120 and into the pens, maybe.
And then they might be at the Argyle on their Mad Wednesday.
Maybe.
You'll probably be there.
I was going to say, you're the one giving me a new haircut, you have.
Skipping Zone 2 just for now, we'll touch on Zone 3 games. The Wednesday night knockout final there now between Curry versus Charlestown at Birrelly Oval, 8 p.m. Their previous results, Curry getting both the wins there. First game was 3-2. Second game, a little narrower with a 1-0 win there. And the qualification final on Tuesday night sees Greeter, after their rest, face off against Merewether United, 8 p.m. at Miller Park. Greeter, again, earlier in the year, getting the win there, 3-1. But later on in the year, Merewether getting a 4-0 win over them. Another two good matchups from form teams across the whole of Zone 3 division, I'd say.
I think last week I spoke about, I did anyway, I like the sound of my own voice, so it was whoever won that game on the weekend, Curry and Merewether, I was thinking they might just cause an upset with Greeter. They're
Both
sitting there waiting.
Curry and Merewether being the only two teams to have beaten Greeter this year, both coincidentally 4-0. So
Greeter have got a couple of little demons in there when they don't get it right. They're leaking very quickly when things don't go well. But whenever that's happened, they seem to have recovered really quickly with their performances. So if you get the best of Greeter, I think they win. But Merewether, they've got some players there that are just they're match winners. And if Hewitt lines up well and he comes through that game and with the same type of energy, anything can happen. anything can happen. It's a long way up to Greta, though. I wouldn't want to be going up there midweek.
Greta, a team probably the least burdened by the weather this year. Miller Park held up quite well with all that rain. So them maybe being a team that the week and a half break might have affected more, because their season itself, they've been used to just play as per normal. So having that extended break might have been different. And their coach up there, I'm sure, has them structured as well. But maybe he's thrown them off a little bit with this rest they've had.
Yeah, key to a good coach is to keep things moving along at the pace you want them. So you've got to have your team absolute ready to go, full fitness if you've got that luxury. And if you've got that luxury, take the time to use it. And provided they've done that, Greta are a side that can really come out firing, provided that's been the case, and use the luxury of Harris Park that you were talking about, and
Miller Park.
Sorry. Yeah. I haven't been that far before. But use the park, what it's been, to be in good condition or held up okay for this purpose, and get it right. Get your team bang on at the start. Make sure the team, your players, you've got to fit, ready to go, and mentally prepared for the job ahead. And then for the other side, you're thinking, they've had time, they've got prepped, and when you're glancing in the warm-up, that's kind of like, gosh, they're sharp, and my legs are heavy, and it starts to play, and you've been thinking about it all week, and then all of a sudden you've come out with a mental advantage on your opponent because you've had that luxury. So go for it, Greta. Get into it at Harris Park.
I think the fact that the game got decided in the 94th minute and didn't go to extra time, I think that is definitely going to help Merewether. If Merewether play like they did in the first half, I give them a big chance. I thought they were really good. I thought Jones defended well. The whole back three defended well. Back four, just lots of energy and second phase defending and desperation, and they're going to need that. You're going to need that in droves up at Greta. There's enough there for there to be an upset. But if it's more of the same in the second half, I think Greta will roll them pretty easily.
Yeah.
It really depends on how the boys, I guess, pull up, and if they're in decent nick. Yeah.
Definitely. And looking then to the elimination final on that Wednesday, talking about teams pulling up after the weekend's game, I can imagine Curry, obviously you spoke on the stat that they went out in double sets last year, but I cannot see them coming into this game easy or slow at all. I reckon they'll be like bullet out the gate. Still back home at Birrelea as well, so Charlestown making that drive as well out to there. I'm kind of worried for Charlestown, and I hope that it is a close game, but to me this is looking like Curry could tear them apart. Charlestown being, albeit a great outfit, but I think Curry are going to come in too hot and too strong for this one.
Yeah, well, I think Curry finished the game better on the weekend. I thought he's got the win and he got the goal, and I thought the penalty was against the run of the play. And even the goal, I thought it was going to go to extra time, but I thought Curry were good in the second half. So I felt their fatigue levels weren't as bad. But, I don't know. I'm worried about Charlestown. I'm almost going the other way. Although, I think Curry would, they should win, but Charlestown's form's been too good to write them off completely. And I don't think there'll be too many in it. But if that front two does well, yeah. But that could happen at any time. If they do well, they could destroy anyone. So
definitely. And finally, looking at now Zone League 2, we look at their elimination final Wednesday night, 8 p.m. Seeing North United Wolves going in, probably licking their wounds against Minmai Wanderers. This one being played out at Lake Macquarie Regional Football Facility at the Synthos there. The previous matchups between these two, Wolves getting a 4-2 win early in the year, and the most recent game being a 1-1 draw. So another just interesting matchups, and as we said, this is finals time. You be shocked if there wasn't an interesting matchup in any of these games. North probably statistically the better chance here, second most goals and third least goals conceded. Min-my stats not too great there, but as we spoke about last week, Wilso, the Jack Murphy just leading that team, and he did do that again on the weekend there. Again, I reckon North's probably a team coming in with a bit of a vengeance, so definitely, and you can't blame the ground conditions when you're out on the synthetics at Lake Macquarie. So, again, another matchup, and yeah, interesting to hear what your thoughts would be.
I was just going to ask you one, like the Min-my, well, obviously Murphy is going to play the major part, but the Alex Brandrick, was he a Lake Macquarie boy that around your, or like probably after your time? But
No, he was in the younger
sides
groups,
when you were
yeah,
there,
the
when you were
17s
coaching.
and 19s.
Yeah, I recognise the name
Yep.
from around your
Yep.
time at Lakes. And
Good memory.
I've got a good memory for someone who's had a brain injury. But I do remember that name.
Yeah.
So he'd have some age on his side as well. He'd be in his 30s, wouldn't he? Or
Comfortably.
Yeah.
Yeah. Sorry, Alex. Yeah, but yeah,
I think he scored last week. I'm pretty sure, and he's got 5. And when you think that Jack's got 24, and the next two are 6 and 5, it's a fairly decent return. It could easily be an upset, you know.
Another one in this fixture, scoring on the weekend as well for Wolves. Tobias King-Bell adding to his tally as well. So two players from two teams that are in form. So definitely, my personal pick, if there was a game of this midweek fixtures that does go the length, I could see this one potentially being that.
Oh, they're both good sides, and there's not much between them. We've seen them both play, and they both can attack defensively. You know, when you mentioned, about creating some problems for yourselves, both teams have got that ability. Tighten that up, for both groups, and because the attack is what really stands out for both of those teams for me.
Well, yeah, when you look at Min-my's stats at 50 goals against, you'd have to think that a lot of that come early on, and they probably struggle to get the ledger in the right direction. But 51 goals is a decent amount. But you look at North with 68 goals. That's a pretty big haul when you consider, the Crabs are in that competition. So it just depends how North are emotionally, mentally. We want to look at it.
Both of these teams really travelling as well, so there's no real home advantage here.
Yeah, it's whoever can deal with the surface as well. It's not for everyone. It's a small little pitch, and it runs true, but it's also a false read as well because it's so quick. And older players will show. Like we wouldn't have played a lot of football on synthetic, and when I played on it when I was older, it was tough. It's a really tough surface to play on.
It's almost like indoor soccer, isn't it? That's what
and
it
you're
feels
talking
like.
and you're talking about 90 minutes of it.
Yeah.
Whoever can handle those conditions, because they're not used to it, for sure. Midweek, I don't know. I'll just go Min-my because I'm on their bell.
But you know what? Like out of all the teams I've seen this year, Norths are the team that had the best, in my view, only. Like the family, the following, the streamers, the balloons, the kids and stuff. Does that take away from it? Probably. I don't know.
Not really. If you're into a circus type atmosphere and
true. You could throw stuff through whatever.
They've got like clowns and all that sort of stuff.
Yeah, I don't know. But I just really love the way Norths sort of turn up. You know what I mean? It just felt a bit wholesome.
It does. It sounds very wholesome. I'm going to definitely go for Min-my now.
Yeah.
Come on, Norths.
Finally, to wrap out this segment here, we do finish off with our match of the round for these semi-final fixtures. Tuesday night, 8 p.m. kickoff at Lyle Carr Oval in Charlestown sees premiers of Zone 2, Crowders Bay, come back to verse Bulwarra Lawn, who did finish third, obviously knocked off Wolves there. Previous meetings for these ones, Crabs with the double here. First meeting a 3-1 and the second one a 1-0. Again, two great teams. We've seen both of them play. Crabs with the best goals for and goals against in this league, 82-4, and only 11 goals conceded throughout 22 games. 1 goal every second game is a crazy stat in any league, I would say. But yeah, again, another great matchup here.
Yeah, I agree. And you look at the stats, and it's not surprisingly, Bulwarra at second, and 27 goals against is not a bad effort either. So you're looking at, the team that's scored the most with the Crabs, and we all know that. You don't go through a season undefeated and really only 2 draws. It looks like it's going to be a tight one. And it has been a tight one, but who knows? It could, they're up at a ground where they both don't play at Lyle Carr. It should be in reasonable nick. They've played some semi-final stuff up there. Whoever can deal with that, the change of scenery, you can't go past the Crabs, but Bulwarra's form's good. You never know.
And it's semi-finals football, finals football. Like, you just seen it over the years too many times. What you think's going to happen just doesn't.
Yeah.
And I spoke to Bales last week, and he wasn't playing down his chances, but he was saying that they're not invincible. They've had the 2 draws on the way in. They've lost a few players.
He
Andrews,
knows
he knows it. He's been around it. He knows the feel. He knows that they're not invincible, and he's probably just letting the players know that forget about this other form. It's done. You're playing against a team that's won on the weekend. They're in good form. You haven't played for a week, and you're losing a couple of players. You're going to need to lift it up a bit. So he's one of the best in the business. Yeah,
he'll also identify where, with his group, where the weaknesses are, and he'll patch them with confidence. He'll do that. That's what he does. And he'll also talk about what they do well and where their strengths are. And with those couple of things, that's what a good coach like. Yeah. He's amazing, and what he will do.
He's a good people person.
Yeah, he just gets it. And when you say feel, he knows the feel.
Yeah. I think he'll get him up. I think it'll be a good game up there. It's a great game, the match of the round.
To play devil's advocate from myself here, Bulwarra being a team with a short turnaround from the weekend, playing through to 120 minutes into penalties, they've got to be coming into this probably the most fatigued team of all 3 divisions. On the flip side, Crabs having an amazing feat of having all 3 grades in finals, but that can also be a burden when on this coming Tuesday, all 3 teams are playing. And I know for sure that their 3rd grade are playing elsewhere. So for Wayne to maybe have to call upon some boys to fill out a squad, they're either away and have to rush over to the ground or already played in reserve grade, not as fresh legs. That could also be a downside. Like, there's downsides there for both teams then. So it's not all sunshine and rainbows for the Crabs just because they've had that time off then.
That's a very good point. A very good point. He'd have assessed that. He'd have reacted to it. I just think he'd have the finger on the pulse with all of that stuff. He'd be wary of what Bulwarra did on the weekend, but he'd also be saying the same things. They've just played 120 minutes. They'd be mentally fatigued, physically fatigued. They've been on the edge for a few weeks. But that can also work the other way when you're on the edge and you need to win each game, and every game's and Bulwarra will go in with nothing to lose.
Yeah,
they're nothing to lose. Everyone expects the Crabs to win, but there's just that little bit of dodginess there.
That's what you've just said there. That's the edge that I like about this sort of game, because you're going to go at them.
Well, it's a night game. It's like if you've won the premiership in normal circumstances where the weather hasn't been such a factor, you're playing this on a Sunday afternoon at your home ground. You've rested up. You've got a big crowd in behind you. The night, forget about the night. It's a nice warm day. The best teams win in the heat. They can handle it. There's a lot of factors lining up for a bit of an upset.
Spot on. Yep, I like your thought.
Both teams then again playing for that obviously spot in the grand final, but that also comes with not having to play this coming weekend as well. So if Bulwarra do go on to unfortunately lose this game, they will have played a Saturday final, a Tuesday final, and then again the following Saturday. Bulwarra almost playing desperately not to play again too soon.
That is a good point. Yeah, that would definitely be in their psyche, is to go, we need this one, so we can have a rest.
Yeah.
Which is so. But they'll just deal with it. They'll thinking, if we can win this one, what a bonus. We're in the grand final, but we've got another chance. People aren't expecting it, and I think they're going to take it that way. They just got to go in, go out swinging.
And I love it. We're at the absolute pointy end because everyone wants to be in the big GF. We're going to have 3 cracking games, like how much fun is this going to be?
Yeah.
And we get to watch all of them. We've watched the whole season. Big games coming up right now and then, for the ultimate.
And like we said, we're looking forward to these big games, but the big players are looking forward to them. That's what they play for all year.
Yeah.
That's what when they walk past the mirror in their houses, they're thinking about, how they look, how their hair looks.
Yeah, why are you staring at me when you're saying all this?
Because there's a few Instagram players out there at Merriweather. So it is a good time of the year to be a footballer, isn't it? Like you just want to be in these big games, and just the energy that it creates and the fun for the fans and family and being able to run on the pitch.
And you're right. The big game players will just be thinking about moments that could come, that one point in time where you can make a difference and keeping your composure and all these things are going to flow through the players. Well, and they're the Majorovskis you're talking about. They know they'll be there when it matters. And you just know
if they make the run. If they make the run and they make the run, the ball will go there eventually. They just go. They keep ticking the boxes. They keep making the same runs. Yeah, it's not going to go there every time, but you keep doing it. You keep turning over.
The anticipation of where it's going to be, where your players are going to be. You've already been through the whole season together. It's showtime.
I use Majorovski. He's hurt me in so many grand finals. That kid, but
no, CT, that word, you just use showtime. Now is that time. And some teams still with a bit of a safety cushion behind them, but for other teams it's now or never. So definitely an exciting time of the year, exciting time of the season. And just to reiterate, we are having a midweek match of the round Tuesday night 8 p.m. I'd definitely encourage everyone to get down to Lyle Carl Oval if you can to watch this game and to all the other games that are being played this week. But if you can't make it, it is being streamed on Bar TV of the match of the round. And I know Cameron's locked in. Wilso, should be there.
A couple of dinner dates and prior arrangements, but you'll
make it there by kickoff, I'm sure.
Should be right.
Yep. And just touching on briefly, Saturday then we will have a match of the round for Zone 1. Obviously the teams in that game undecided until the results come out this week. But Saturday will be the match of the round, the penultimate match of the round before the grand final weekend the following week. So definitely exciting times. I can see CT just almost shaking of how exciting all of this is.
It is showtime.
It's now or never.
If you don't open up one of the grand final, if you don't open up the Zone League 1 grand final with that,
it's now or never.
Yeah. Any more we got to throw out?
There we go.
That'll do for now.
Now and ever.
It is
showtime.
now or never.
Yeah.
Mason Villa. Cliches. Phone. You can phone up for cliches and.
Yeah.
I don't think you can.
Yeah. Well, that has been us for another episode of the Zone In podcast, the second episode for finals. We cannot wait. We'll see you in the next episode with more updates, more results, more shocking results, I'm sure.
Cliches.
More cliches, of course. We can't leave out the cliches. But yes, thank you all for watching, boys. Thank you for coming in, being on.
Thanks for putting us down on this slumping lounge.
I'll talk to the producers about that for the next episode.
Is there any massage parlours on the way?
I'm sure you know where a few are, Will. So,
Can I check your phone for last phone calls?
Cheers, everyone.
This is the Zone Football League.